always fires you up for a brand new edition of the Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast. This is episode 30, thinking about some of the great number 30s in the past sports history. Of course, Steph Curry, the people's MVP for this year, just having a marvelous season with the Golden State Warriors. They come up a bit short of the playoffs. You think about the great flamethrower Nolan Ryan, Ken Griffey. How about Bernard Jr.? He was automatic. No, Jr. didn't wear 30. That was his dad.
Yeah,
we're already fighting on the numbers.
Yeah.
And he's got John Starks in there, and he wore number 3, and that's okay.
My goodness, you got John Starks in there.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Rasheed Walsh.
Okay, yeah.
Terrell Davis.
Yeah, he was 36 with the Celtics, right?
Yeah. Okay.
But that's okay. Numbers are numbers.
Numbers he played 1 year with the Celtics.
The most important thing is it's a brand new show. We got a great show coming
still on the air.
We are going to be joined in a little bit by Jim Paschke, who had such a wonderful career with the Milwaukee Bucks. He's bringing the curtain down on that this year after the first round, after they knocked the Miami Heat out of the playoffs. And
look at you on the bandwagon now.
Yeah, well, okay. I'm a Milwaukee native. So,
okay. All right.
And later, a real treat for those of you a little bit older who remember the legendary heckler Robin Ficker. He is going to join us, tell some great stories about heckling B.J. Armstrong and Stacey on the bench when one of the games against the Washington Wizards. Were they the Bullets back then, Stacey?
They're the Bullets.
Yeah, so that's going to be a real treat. So this is going to be a great hour, 90 minutes coming up. We want you to listen to each and everything.
Maybe 2.
And of course, we thank all the folks.
We have no time limit on this show, okay?
That's right.
America, okay, we just do what we do, okay? We just have fun.
And this is Stacey's first week not calling any Bulls games. What was it like not having to go down to the United Center or the Channel 5 studios?
It hurt. It really hurt.
Yeah. Well,
it hurt.
I know you expected to be working. Man. Yeah.
Second year in a row, it's hurt.
Yeah.
But there is light at the end of the tunnel for the Bulls. They will be in the playoffs next year. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about this direction of the team. I know there's some people out there who may not be excited, but Bulls fans, listen to me. We are going to be in the playoffs next year. Mark it down.
I think he said that at the beginning of this year.
You don't need to tell anybody what I said last year.
You were trying to get people to check the tape on the MVP predictions.
Yeah.
So
I have it.
See, this is America. This is a man who lives in the past. He can't stay in the present. He lives in the present.
I want the truth. You can't handle it.
No, you can't handle it. You need me on that wall.
The past is for cowards and losers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And coffee is for closers.
So let's talk about the current NBA
and I'm drinking
playoffs.
it right now.
Oh, you're not a closer, though. Put that coffee down.
And speaking of losers, how about the Los Angeles Clippers losing 2 straight games at home? And you look at that, they brought in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Everyone thought this was a twosome that could lead the Clippers to their first championship. And Stacey, they lose 2 games at home. Luka Doncic, they have no answers.
Well, let me tell you something. America.
He's talking directly to America.
This would be a huge monumental upset because the Clippers are a team that's favored in the Western Conference, at least to get to the Western Conference Finals, possibly to the Finals. What gets me about the Clippers is you pay $64 million to bring in Luke Kennard as a free agent, and you don't play him. You're playing Reggie Jackson over Rondo, especially late in games when you need to be in your offense. You need to be running your offense at the end of games. You need to make sure that you're getting good offensive sets. You're putting the ball in, late in the games in Paul George's hands where he's better playing off the ball. And, and then you go back and you look. It's like, okay, defense on Luka, you can't stop him. He's Larry Bird 2.0. I'm sorry. He's Larry Bird 2.0. If he took off his face mask, you would see there's Larry Bird behind there. He's just younger, okay? All the shots that he was hitting, I mean, it looked like Larry Bird out there. Here's my problem with the Clippers. You got 2 of the best on-ball defenders in Paul George and, Kawhi Leonard. What I would do, this is why I'm an armchair coach, okay? What I would do is I would put one of those guys on him in the first half and the other one on him in the fourth quarter.
We'll
in the
try
second
to wear
half.
him down.
And you have your 2 best defenders on him at all times. So there's no switching unless you have to, unless it's Kawhi. They run a screen roll and Kawhi and Paul George are both involved in the screen. Then you switch. But Paul George takes him in the first 2 quarters, and then Kawhi, when the game is on the line, the second half, your best defensive player plays him in the second half. It would be that simple. And that would be something Phil Jackson would do. Phil Jackson would say, all right, Scotty, you or Michael, you take this guy first, and then Scotty, you finish up with him, or vice versa. That's what you do when you have 2 elite defenders like those 2 guys. They're not doing that, and it's really causing them problems.
Now, Kawhi Leonard can opt out of his contract if he wants. He has a player option for next season. He worked so hard to get back to his native Southern California. Do you think Kawhi, if they flame out in his first round, might consider exploring other options, other teams?
Like the Bulls?
Like the Bulls. Why not? They could create cap space.
Listen, don't be a hater.
I'm not being a hater, but
because
you guys
he may
are
come here.
grasping.
No, we're not grasping at anything. It's reality of what we see. We got 2 All-Stars. We're going in the right direction. We got a young team, and it's the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference is
getting better.
It's getting better, but it's still up for grabs. You're going to have, it's top heavy. You got 3-4 teams right now that are clearly, or 3 teams that are really clearly the top of the Eastern Conference. Yeah. You need for it to be balanced, you need at least 6 of those teams like the West have. You got to have about 5 or 6 teams to balance out the strength. So that means guys who are in the Western Conference who may not be able to get to the finals on a regular basis.
Like Paul George.
And they're looking, I don't know about Paul George, but I take Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
And those kind of guys will start looking, because here's another thing. Remember, we talked about this last week. Kevin Durant talking about, how the Bulls are like a team of destination. People want to go play for them because they got a good young talent. If he's talking about the Bulls in that tone, what do you think these other guys are thinking? Like, hey, man, Zach LaVine, Vucevic, they just one player away. You got young Patrick Williams, Kobe White. There's so much talent there. They're just one player away. And I could see a guy saying, it'd be tough to leave California, though. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, because he tried so hard to get back there. That seemed like that was his only goal, was to get back home.
And hindsight's 2020. He made the money. He's the
2 championships, one in San Antonio, one in Toronto.
So he wanted to play for the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
He easily could have played with the Lakers, and that team would have been unbeatable if he would have been on that team. But he chose to go to the Clippers. And now, the pressure of being the go-to guy every single night. I was listening to like Stephen A. Smith and all these people today. This guy scored 41 points.
Yeah.
Like he scored 41, and they were making it look like it was his fault.
Right.
No, it wasn't his fault.
Right.
You got to look at the Clippers and say, hey, wait a minute. And I'm not even blaming Paul George. Paul George, I think, had 28. Yeah. So your 2 superstars showed up. Where the problem is that the substitutions and getting the right players around them on the floor at the same time. Those 2 guys scored almost 70 points between them. Where's the rest? Where's Morissette? Where is these other guys who you're paying this money to come in and play?
Right.
They're the others, as
Kennard,
we all like to.
Kennard, right?
Yeah,
they're getting nothing from their backcourt.
Kennard is not even getting off the bench in a game where you need shooting, and how important shooting is. You look at Utah and all the guys and Joe Ingles, how those guys survive out there. They're not surviving on the athleticism. They're surviving off ball movement and being movement of the ball and playing off of Donovan Mitchell, breaking teams down and getting open shots. Same thing with Giannis in Milwaukee and Drew Holiday. When those guys break the defense down, they're able to find their shooters. Their shooters are in the corner, ready to knock down wide open jump shots. So why isn't Luke Kennard in the game?
Yeah, let's talk about the other LA team, the Lakers. Probably saved their season last night by rallying to beat the Phoenix Suns. And it was so sad to watch Chris Paul trying to play with one hand, his offhand, his left hand. He's making passes. He can barely lift that right shoulder. And I think they would have won that game had Chris Paul been healthy. But you look at his history going back to his Houston days, his days with the Clippers. Unfortunately, he's been hurt a lot in the playoffs.
He's got the worst luck at the worst times. You go back to Houston a few years ago. If he doesn't get hurt in that series, they get to the finals and possibly win a championship. So he's got the worst luck. It happened with the Clippers. He got hurt in the Clippers, a hamstring injury, and then that cost him a chance to get out of the second round. So he just has a bad history. And you hit the nail on the head, because had he not got hurt, I think they go up 2-0.
Yeah.
He does such a great job of getting everybody easy shots. So you take him out the lineup. You got Cameron Payne, who came in and played, pretty
shots.
well.
Yeah.
But you're not going to win with Cameron Payne.
No, we've seen that. That don't work.
And I'm not criticizing. I'm not criticizing Cameron Payne. Cameron Payne is great in his role, coming off the bench, giving you 18 to 20 minutes. But when you're saying, Cameron Payne, we need you to run the show, that's just not going to happen. He's going to make turnovers. You saw late in the game, he took some ill-advised shots. He turned the ball over that really cost him down the stretch, because that game was still winnable for Phoenix. Yeah. Even with Paul being on the bench, that game was still winnable.
In the second half, when Paul was in the game, they didn't even guard him. They just went double-team Booker, and that really meant that the Suns couldn't run their offense. They got back to take, I believe, a 1-point lead in the fourth quarter, but they couldn't finish because they had no offense. They were double teaming Devin Booker, and Phoenix had nowhere else to go.
Well, and then you force Devin Booker now to be a playmaker.
Yeah, shot creator.
So I mean, it's like Kobe. Give the ball to him, clear out the way, and let him get his own shot. And he's not that type of player to be able to sustain that type of play for 4 quarters. He could do it for a quarter. He could do it for a quarter and a half. But to ask him to put the load on him to not only score, but to get everybody else involved, because I want him as a scorer.
That's it.
I want him as my shooter. I want him coming off screens, single doubles, running the pick and roll. I don't want him as my playmaker. I don't want him.
Here's a telling stat: they're one of the slowest teams in the league, Lakers, and they fast break 15-4.
They played physical last night.
They did,
and every time a Phoenix player get in the paint, they were going down. I mean, that was a different approach by Frank Vogel.
Well, I mean, they played really soft in game 1.
Yeah.
You know, Phoenix was able to just. I mean, when you got Ayton scoring 20, you got everybody else picking. I mean, they had, there's so many guys on their team, on Phoenix's team, that really contributed in that game 1, and they were very physical. But in that game 2, you saw Anthony Davis. I mean, he was literally opposing his will on Ayton. I mean, they couldn't do anything with him. And when he plays like that, it doesn't matter who else. LeBron and him, when they play the way they played, last night, there's nothing you can do with those guys.
Yeah. Well, let's move over to the Eastern Conference, and the 1-8, 2-7 matchups look like those are going to be easy wins for Philadelphia and Brooklyn. We're going to talk about the Bucks and Heat in just a second with Jim Paschke, but first let's talk a little bit about Atlanta and the Knicks. That was a classic game. That was one of the most entertaining playoff games I've seen in a while in game 1, and Tibbs had to be going crazy because they had a chance to win it right there, and they didn't execute down in those last couple of possessions.
Well, we talked about this going into the playoffs, that teams are going to play Julius Randle like they did Giannis. When you have the ball in your hands as much as Julius Randle has, they're going to close off the paint. They're not going to allow you to drive. So basically, if you watch how Atlanta played him, anytime he did any kind of pick and roll or anytime he tried to beat somebody off the dribble, there were 2-3 guys in the area that would not allow him to get to the paint, which then forces him to take bad shots. What Julius Randle has to do is recognize that, hey, look, you know what? I got to get my teammates involved. When these guys are sending 2 or 3 guys like a boxing one at me, I've got to find the open guys. And their bench, New York's bench, came in and saved them, because that could have, if they didn't play well, that team, they get blown out.
Well, it's something to see Tibbs go in that high screen and roll with Derek and Taj Gibson almost every possession in the fourth quarter.
But you know what, though? And as much as I love Tibbs is a great, regular season coach. He sticks to what he had success with. And in the playoffs, as you know, guys, you have to make adjustments. Adjustments come not just half at the half, or, it's not quarter to quarter. It's like timeout to timeout. There's so many changes that go in the playoff games that you have to make on the fly, and you could see that New York just kept running the same plays that they've been running all season long. And, Bullock didn't hit shots. New York starters got outscored big time. Oh, yeah. And so when you get, when you get Atlanta starters going, Bogdanovich, I'm telling you right now, that kid is a player, dude. Yeah. That kid, I tell you, if Milwaukee would have been able to swing that move, I tell you what, boy, they would have been unbeatable, because that dude is like, he can play the point, he can play the 2 guard, he hit some big shots. A lot of people are talking about Trae Young, what he did at the end.
That was pretty nice.
But Bogdanovich, when New York was winning,
big shots,
Bogdanovich hit a couple of threes that were backbreakers, that you could see that just like the life go out of the Knicks.
How about your Oklahoma guy, though? He took on that Madison Square Garden crowd.
You know what? That's what Sooners do.
It's pretty quiet in here.
Hey, that's what Sooners do. Okay, we're not afraid to go in hostile territory and let everybody know what time it is, okay?
You told Spike Lee to sit down.
Yeah, little Trey, okay? Little Trey went out there and he handled his business. Now, look.
Ice Trey, cold-blooded.
I hear all these people talking about, he shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have. Listen, that's old 90s style basketball.
Yeah.
When the fans hate on you and they're yelling, they're screaming at you, there's no better feeling to be able to stick it to him like Trey was, and you get a win on the road in a huge playoff game, and you're able to have some fun with the crowd. You're able to have some fun with Spike Lee. That's always been like that. It's like, you know what? Now you start hearing people complaining about it. I heard so many people talking about, he shouldn't have done that. It's like, come on, leave that alone, man. This is NBA. This is not youth league. This is not like everybody. You get a participation trophy.
Your mom signed a permission slip.
Exactly. Don't say anything bad about about the teams, guys. But coach, aren't we undefeated? No, we're all the same record. Okay, you know how they do. So we all, because the team who went 14-0, it really is not 14-0 according to the new rules. It's like everybody's got the same record. So it's kind of like what they're trying to do in the NBA. They don't want players to celebrate. They don't want players to come in and interact with the crowd. As long as you're not disrespectful, like you're flipping the crowd off, or you're doing that kind of stuff. That's you can't tolerate that. But just having some little fun by going shh.
Hey, we're recording this episode on Wednesday night from the beautiful Sriracha Studios in Palatine. So, Stinger, you got an update on that Wizards 76ers game that's already underway? Because I know the folks will want to check back a couple of days and see if we were right on the score.
We're trying to watch it. We're trying to watch it on
TV. Are they in a
right
commercial
now.
break, making it impossible for you to give us an update?
We got Whispers over here working the TV board over here. I think he's fell asleep.
He didn't pay his cable bill. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, I don't know, because we had the game last time.
He's trying to steal a streaming service from the office next door, He's using a password from another business.
Oh my God!
It's 35.
He's got the fire stick.
Yeah, it's 35.23.
Did you pay your cable bill?
I tapped in with your.
Oh, all right.
Oh my God!
I can give you my account information if you want to get in there. We'd love to see.
Yeah,
the
we'd
game.
love to see the game. Oh man, we got this nice, beautiful, big TV monitor here in the
I have it on my
Sriracha
iPad.
Studios.
All right, what's the score?
Courtside
It is
has
Bush
it
League.
35-23 Philly.
All right, so they'll be going up 2-0 in that series.
2 seconds to go in the first quarter.
Well, let's get some intel on what's going on with the Bucks and Heat, with the great Jim Paschke, who's been kind enough to stand by and listen to some of our NBA
We're
chatter.
We're going to intro him, though, right?
Yeah, let's welcome in Jim Paschke, who's winding down
do a little intro.
Incredible career with the Bucks. But before he was doing the play-by-play, he was a local broadcaster with WITI TV6 and one of the greatest promos of all time. Take a listen.
Hey, Jim, who was the first Brewers catcher? Phil Roof.
All right, who coached the Packers after Lambeau?
Gene Ronzan.
Yeah.
All right, who did the Bucks trade for Oscar Robertson? Charlie Falk and Flynn Robinson. Okay, give me 10 baseball players with names of fish. Okay, reel them off.
Easy, Jim. You got Dizzy Trout, Catfish Hunter. You got Jesse.
Get hooked on Jim Paschke and Earl Gillespie, TV6 Sports.
Randy Bass, Kevin Bass, and how about Gil Hodges?
Let us welcome in Jim Paschke, who's kind enough to join us tonight, getting ready for Game 3 with the Bucks and Heat. How many takes on that promo, Jim?
We did that overnight, many takes, and I learned later that was an expert deal. I was new to town. I don't position myself as an expert, but they had me doing that. There's a mistake in there.
Oh, is that right?
Phil Roof was not the first catcher for the Brewers. It was Jerry McNertney. He caught the first game. I found that out later. So here I am acting like an expert, and I find out later that there is a mistake in the whole thing. No one ever talked about
Did some fans tell you that there was a mistake?
No, the beat writer for the Brewers, Tom Flaherty, told me.
Oh, wow.
Very quietly pulled me aside and he said, I hate to tell you this, but McNertney was the first catcher.
Jim, we didn't notice. We thought it was awesome.
No, it was a great promo.
I never told anybody that, but now that I'm bailing out, I can talk about those things.
Yeah, back in those days, the competition in local news was unbelievable. It's all become kind of homogenized now, especially with the pandemic. Everybody gets their interviews on Zoom, and there's very little competition for stories anymore. But in those days, I'll tell you what, the local stations would battle it out. And what was it like working with Earl Gillespie? I mean, he was the voice of the Milwaukee Braves and a legend in Milwaukee. What was that like kind of breaking in under him?
And Badger football for over 30 years. I worked with him on the Badger Football Network, and that's how we got together. And then I came over to Milwaukee and worked with Earl. Just a great human being and a great broadcaster. He was like a second father to me. I had lost my father at that point in my life, and Earl really took me under his wing, and his family did. It was great. He was wonderful, and I owe a lot to him.
And his son John worked in the market for a long time, and he's still doing. I know he's doing his syndicated fishing shows that we see a lot. So those were great days. I worked at the ABC station when Jim was at WITI, so we got a chance to cross paths briefly, and then you went into the play-by-play full time. And was that a tough decision for you? Because obviously, they're really kind of separate businesses, and you went off a different way. I'm sure looking back on it, it was probably one of the best decisions you made.
It took me 10 seconds to say yes, and then when I hung up the phone, I wondered if I had done the right thing. But I knew that it's something I wanted to do. I had done play-by-play a little bit here and there, But I'm glad I answered quickly, because if I had thought about it, maybe I would have gotten frightened by the prospect. And here we are 35 years later. But who gets a phone call asking them if they want to try and broadcast the Bucks and the Brewers at the same time, right?
That's fantastic. What a great
You don't
opportunity.
turn that down. You say, yes, I'll be there on, the next train whenever you need me.
Hey, let's talk about this Bucks Heat series going on. I know a lot of people were nervous coming in because Miami beat the Bucks in 5 games in the bubble last year and kind of felt like maybe they had Milwaukee's number. But that game the other night, the Bucks shot the lights out, and I think that any lingering hangover from that bubble series is gone. What's impressed you most about the way the Bucks have played through the first 2 games?
Well, what did you say about those who live in the past?
Yeah, cowards and losers, yeah.
It's interesting. Everybody was looking at last year and what happened, and then they evaluated the potential series this year with that lens. And before game 2, after watching game 1, I said, I don't think these teams are as closely matched as people may think. And the Bucks proved that in game 2. There was a little bit of rust in game 1. Both teams had been off for 5 days, and I think that showed a little bit. The Bucks had a lot go wrong and still won. Miami had a few things go their way, 23s. The Bucks missed 13 free throws. You can come up with a lot of things that should have propelled Miami a little further than it did. But the Bucks prevailed. And a year ago, and maybe 2 years ago for sure, they would have lost a game like that. So I think that's progress for Milwaukee. They were able to power through and win by 2 in overtime. So that was a great sign. And then they come out and flip the script and hit threes in game 2. And that first quarter was incredible. They made 10 threes in the first period at 78 points at halftime. I mean, they were clicking and showing people what they can do. If they play like they did in the first half of game 2, they're going to win a lot of basketball games in this postseason.
The one thing I saw last year in the bubble, I felt like the bubble really hindered them because they're a really good home court team. And I thought the bubble really affected them. And then all the stuff that was going on leading up to that maybe their minds weren't on basketball. And I said this year, being able to play at home and being in their building, they are going to be tough to beat. And even when they let fans in, they're going to be tough to beat, which we've seen in game 1 and 2.
We had 9,000 fans. That was the capacity for game 2. And they just announced today the rest of the way, the capacity will be increased to 16,500.
Oh, nice.
Okay, we're getting back to we're getting close to normal again. So that home court advantage will be back. But Stacey, you know this. I've said over the last year for the Bucks and Giannis in particular, when you develop up through your body, and eventually you have to develop up here, the head. And you have to be able to say, it doesn't matter if there are people in the building. It doesn't matter if we're in a bubble. You have to focus on the task at hand. If you're going to win a championship, you must be able to do that. And you have to have 10 players, 8 for sure, that are on the same page. And I think the Bucks are starting to get to that point where they're playing with their heads more now, and they're thinking things through, and they're not getting caught up in 2-0 leads like they did perhaps 2 years ago in Toronto. So I see greater focus this year than I have in the last few years. It's a different team. And I think Drew Holiday is a big part of that. Giannis has developed that way, and then bringing in Drew Holiday adds another player. Chris Middleton's been there, but Drew Holiday adds another player who's at the controls now and can make that happen. We saw that in game 2. He orchestrated Bryn Forbes in the first quarter. He was hitting shots, and Holiday kept going to him without any thought of trying to worry about Giannis over here. And I think that's a real leader. Milwaukee has a real leader at that position now.
You mentioned Giannis, and you've developed a really special relationship with the 2-time MVP. I know the video went viral about your video with your interview with him recently, and he refers to you affectionately as Mr. Jim. And when you think about the age difference and the fact that he's accomplished so much at a young age, sometimes young players don't really want to have anything to do with the broadcasters, or they may not trust the media that covers the teams. But being able to have that kind of relationship with Giannis, what's that meant to you?
Well, Mark, it's been interesting because I think when people see what they see when we sit down and talk, they think that we hang out together and we're real tight. We don't do that. We sit down once a year and have our conversation. We see each other in passing. We always say hello. I see him on planes. Once in a while, we'll chat for 5 minutes maybe, but there's no real 24/7 deal going on here at all. It just, We clicked when he was 18 years old. I was hanging around practice. Pardon me?
I said the respect really came through in that interview.
Well,
you could see
and
how
that's
much
from
that
him.
he values.
An 18-year-old, an 18-year-old, coming to the United States by himself. I was at practice every day, and he came up to me one day and asked me which players I thought he could study and learn from. I knew that he had gone through everybody before he got to me on that question, but he still asked me, and I learned very quickly that he was the kind of a person that was insatiable when it came to knowledge and getting better. And he was very respectful. He called me Mr. Jim the second time I met him, and it's carried over. And then the relationship when we sit down has just been interesting. I don't have any notes. I just sit down and talk. I react to what he says. And he said something interesting to me this year. He said, Jim, Mr. Jim, you held me accountable in those interviews. And all I really did was ask him what the next step was, or if he said something, I would challenge him a little bit. And he appreciated that. That's how he operates in his life. He needs that accountability on how he is getting better and what he is doing and how he is conducting himself. He is the real deal as a human being. What you see is authentic and it's real. And I have never really run across anybody with a story like his. He was born in Greece, but he is Nigerian. The family's Nigerian, and the respect and the things they learned as boys come from that background. The parents had to leave Nigeria and move on to Greece. And Giannis says that it's the Nigerian part of the background that is his cornerstone and his touchstone. So it's been very fascinating to learn about all of that. But he's the real deal. He's a great father, great player, great human being. And it's been a pleasure to spend that time with him.
The one thing I noticed about your team this year and seeing them up close is that you guys got tougher. The toughness is there with some of the guys you brought in, PJ Tucker, you mentioned Drew Holiday, and then Bobby Portis, who's really came in and played well for you guys at the 4 and 5 spot, giving you a stretch 4 or 5, being able to knock down shots. But the physicality and the toughness that they have now that I've seen all year long, I thought that's been a big upgrade.
Well, it has. And, it's interesting. You mentioned PJ Tucker and Jeff Teague is in that too. And what happened was the bench was playing all right. And the bench essentially was Bryn Forbes, Pat Connaughton, Bobby Portis, who has a certain brand of toughness. And then Thanasis Antetokounmpo was used this year, and he brought this defensive egg beater approach when he'd come in the game, and he just created havoc and great aggressiveness. But what we saw, the eye test told me that group predominantly played well against sub 500 teams and struggled a bit. Their performance wasn't quite as good against the plus 500 teams. And so John Horst went out and brought in a PJ Tucker and a Jeff Teague. And I think that was a shrewd move getting ready for the postseason. You do not play sub 500 teams in the postseason unless you happen to be a 1-8 situation possibly. But, those were great moves. And PJ Tucker is very tough, and he can hit those corner threes from either side. He'll see some time. We saw him in game 2. Teague hasn't played yet, but he will get his minutes in the postseason as well because he can come in short minutes and run a basketball team, hit a three, and he won't beat himself, and he'll hold you into games. So I like those moves a lot, Stacey.
Assuming the Bucks can advance past the Miami Heat, they'll most likely play Brooklyn in the next round, and they finished one game behind him, so that they will not have home court advantage in that series. And Brooklyn with the 3 superstars everyone knows about, Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. How do you assess that potential series in round 2?
Well, it'll be very difficult. Brooklyn is not known for its defense. That is not a particularly great defensive team, so I think the Bucks might have an advantage on that end of the floor. However, in my view, if it goes down to late in the game, fourth quarter, tight game, that's going to be amazing to watch. James Harden is, phenomenal in those situations, and the Bucks will have their hands full. If they play a lot of close games in that series, it could be difficult. But if they can somehow use their defense and get the offense going and have a comfortable lead and stay away from that fourth quarter crunch time stuff, maybe they can pull it out. But we'll see. That's going to be a tough series for sure, should it happen. And
Giannis has to make his free throws. I'll tell you what, I get nervous every time he loads up. It just seems like, they called that 10-second violation on him in game one, which happened to Karl Malone back in the day when they were playing the Bulls in the finals. But it almost seems like he paralyzes himself at the free throw line. I know he's worked so hard to try to overcome that mental block, but it almost seems like the harder he works, the more difficult it gets. Have you ever talked to him about his approach at the free throw line?
Well, I mean, it's changed a little bit, but after the All-Star break, he was actually pretty good. He was up in the 70% range plus, and everything was going fine. And then he had a difficult game one, and I don't know where that came from. We hadn't seen anything like that in a while. And that 10-second call, I mean, that was a tough call with a minute to play in a tight game. I mean, that was crazy. But Miami was counting, they count down, and teams know it takes a while, so they're playing that game. But, he'll be fine. And, in game two, he hits free throws when he needs to. He's one of those guys. And, I think he'll be all right. But that game one was a little out of character from what we saw after the All-Star break.
When you look at him, two-time MVP, what do you see that he needs to work on? Because you see him more than we do. And, what do you think he needs to continue to get better at? Because we already know he's an elite player, but to really separate himself from a lot of these other guys, what do you think the areas he needs to work on and be consistent at?
Well, I think he would first say my free throw shooting.
Yeah.
He would tell you that right away. And he works on it all the time, and he will continue to work on it. And then I think just generally shooting. But, his shooting is all right. He can hit. I think he's learned that you don't have to hit threes to keep a team honest. You can hit a 25-footer and keep a team honest, too. It's when you do it and, just knowing the game. I think Giannis would tell you that he's constantly getting better with the mental part of the game now. Remember, he played in Greece, and, the league he played in was a lower-level league. So, he didn't have – he hasn't learned the game from 7 years old on up. I mean, he got to it a little bit late in terms of quality coaching and that kind of thing, not to take anything away from the Greek system, but he's learning more and more and more every day. And so his mental approach is based on the cerebral part of the game now. So I think, he'll fine tune his shooting, and then he'll keep working on the mental part of the game.
Speaking of legends, the Bucks picked up a free agent producer-director named John Walsh a few years back. What's it like working with a legend like John Walsh? We've seen his temper here on Gimme the Hot Sauce. Have you experienced that during game broadcasts?
Well, Neil Funk thinks he ran both of us out of the league.
True. So true.
Yes.
Very true.
That is true.
Very true.
Fast, that's true.
Sounds about right, doesn't it,
Yes,
Stacey?
it sounds right. He said it all the time.
Simulcast stories.
Yes.
I had to go.
Yes.
Yep. I wanted to ask Jim, because he's called a no-hitter.
I'm sorry, John, I had to do that.
Oh, no, hey, I'm here.
John's the
Trust
best.
me.
I was very happy, and John knows this. I was very happy when he came back to Milwaukee, and I followed his career in Chicago, and I knew that he would be a great asset to us if he came back, and we were happy to have him come back.
Killed us. It's like LeBron saying, "I'm taking my talents to Milwaukee." That's what it was like.
Yeah.
And it was
Who takes their talents to Bradford?
Yeah, but Jim, you've mentioned this. You called a no-hitter for the Brewers in '87, Juan Nueves, and you also, distinct pleasure, not pleasure, but to call replacement baseball and bubble basketball. The one story that, because it's a, kind of a Bulls Chicago, take us back to Chicago Stadium, 1993, Michael Jordan. The backstory is amazing when he scored all the points leading up to 20, and you're calling the game. If you could kind of just give us a little snapshot of that moment.
Well, I can only tell you the story as I remember it, and I assume that it is correct. Maybe Mark can, vet this for me, but I'm doing the game, and the Bulls are, up by whatever it was, too many points for the Bucks. And Jordan had his night. He sat down. It was late in the fourth quarter, maybe not that late, but, there was time left. And everybody in that building in Chicago knew that he was 6 points short of 20,000 points. And the story I remember telling on the air, because my research had told me that he had passed 5,000 points, 10,000 points, and 15,000 points in Philadelphia. And I believe the Bulls were going to Philadelphia for the next game. The fans went nuts. So they let everyone know that they don't let him go to Philadelphia and do that again. He walks off the bench, hits a three. I don't know what he did for the next 5 seconds or 10 seconds, got the ball back and hit another three and walked to the bench and sat down with 20,000 points. That's how I remember it. I mean, bam, bam, 2 threes, it's over. Everybody's happy. The Bulls win, and the Bucks go home, having given up Michael Jordan's 20,000th point.
Wow.
That's cool.
That is a cool story.
Well, Jim, the nature of broadcasting now is that after this round, the networks will take over, so you'll be bringing down the curtain. What kind of emotions do you think you have as you're calling that final game?
Well, I'm ready for it. I've gone through about 2 or 3 weeks now of absolute adulation that I, appreciate and I'm grateful for. But, I don't handle that well. I just don't. I've been trying to concentrate on doing the games, and, it's fun and I love it, and the fans have been wonderful. But I didn't get into this business to be in the spotlight at all. I really didn't. So it's always been uncomfortable for me to be the story. So I've struggled with that a great deal. But if you just put me out of the picture, it's been great and wonderful. So I'm ready. I have no problem. Whenever it ends, I'm good. I may have a few duties for the Bucks, in arena or maybe on Bally Sports or whatever they need me to do. But I'm just winding down. I figure it'll either be my deal is I'm going to retire at the end of the month in which the Bucks are done. So if they get to the finals, I'll be done at the end of July. If they're done earlier, I'll be done at the end of June. And, I'm ready. I wouldn't have made the decision if I wasn't ready. And I'm very grateful for having the opportunity to have it be my decision.
That's awesome.
I always wanted that to happen. And I always wanted to leave, potentially 2 years too early rather than 1 year too late. And I'll say 1 day too late. I don't want to hang around and, not be able to do the job. And I feel like I can still get through a game with some kind of normalcy and decency in terms of preparation and performance. But I'm ready. I'm ready anytime.
Well, I hope you're not going to be like Neil Funk and just disappear off the face of the earth and travel all over the country, getting on cruises.
Parties out for him.
And I'm his partner for over 15 years, Jim. And I kind of call him. He puts me on a voicemail. He doesn't answer the phone. I talked to him finally. I finally got on. He's in the golf course in South Carolina. He's all over the place. It's not like where's Waldo? It's where's Neil Funk?
Well, I know where he is and where he will be, and so I'm going to have to look him up because I'll be in the neighborhood, same area. So that's one guy that I would love to touch base with occasionly in retirement. It'd be wonderful. He's the best.
Yes, he is. He is awesome.
He's a pleasure.
Despite what John says about him.
Yes. He's my guy, man. I love Funk.
I know, mine too. And I know he's John's also. I'm just joking around, but Neil's the best. He's the best.
I have a photo that my wife brought in from Stacey's wedding with his arm is around me, Jim. We're posing with Mark and Mark's wife, and Neil as he reached around and he's got his arm around me. You can see it right there, and he's smiling.
It's the only time that's ever happened.
Look at him. Yes, he's so happy,
and he's squeezing him so tight, Jim. Like he's like, I want to just make his head explode. Look at him.
Well, he's kind of hiding his arm. Are you sure?
It might have been somebody else's arm. It might have been Mark's arm.
I think he was trying to get close to my wife. See,
that makes more sense. Yeah,
that's what he's trying to do.
He has long arms now.
Yeah, he got real long arms.
Splinter, yeah.
He's the splinter, baby. He used to be a hooper.
Oh yeah, he was a hooper.
Indiana legend,
Hall of Famer.
He never let me forget that. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he deserves to be there.
Yes, he is. He is one of the best. You're one of the best. All these legends are gone. It's like a whole new breed of announcers are coming in, play-by-play guys. It just man,
Miles Bridges.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's a little bit too much for me. But I mean, all these legends are gone. It's really cool that I got a chance to come in and see you guys.
Marv Albert's retiring.
Yeah,
too.
Marv Albert's retiring. I mean, all these guys were legends, and now they're all out of the game. And it's like, wow, who's still left? Who's still left?
You.
Al McCoy. Is Al McCoy still?
Al McCoy is still in
Yeah,
Phoenix.
yeah.
Bill Worrell is retiring in Houston.
Houston, yeah.
At least from play-by-play. I think he might have some duties for a year or two, have a round number of 50 seasons with the Rockets. But, Bill, Neil, myself, Marv, let's see who else. I think that's it for this season.
Wow.
That's enough for 1 year.
That is enough for 1 year.
It's enough for 1 year. Exactly.
Yeah. And the business is changing too. I mean, Stacey, you know that it's going to be different moving forward after these last 2 seasons. And, maybe it's time for younger people to get a chance to figure this out. And their eyes are better. They can sit at the top of the lower bowl without any problem.
Yeah. I got a guy, Adam Amin, who's
He's
like
a good
30,
one.
30, 34, 35. And I'm not going to lie. I feel like Neil Funk now. I feel like Neil Funk was when I was coming up. So, he has reinvigorated me because when Neil left, I was kind of like, oh, maybe I should ride in the sunset with my partner, like Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. And then I started doing some stuff with Adam, and I was just like, I just got reinvigorated because of his energy, and my energy and his energy is like really, really good, and I got re-energized. So I'm here as long as the Bulls want me, and I hope I can walk out on my own terms, and no one kicks me out the door.
At least there's no opens from the Forum, Jim, and you got to do the sprint back to your position at the Great Western Forum, huh? You and McLaughlin.
You don't want me to tell that story.
Sure we do.
Yeah,
we do.
Tell the story. Because
so
there's
it's early
Italian
in
to
my
Chicago.
career. We're at the Forum, and the broadcast position was at the ceiling.
Yeah.
And somebody had the brilliant idea that we should do a live open and then hustle up to that position. And our stage manager was a woman named Susan Hemond. She was Roland Hemond's daughter.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah, former general manager of the White Sox.
White Sox, 83.
And she was an ultra marathoner. So we finish, and we have 2 minutes and 15 seconds to get to the top of the building. Susan takes off running. McLaughlin was in decent shape back then, 30 years ago or whatever it was. And he takes off running, and Jim thinks he can stay with him. I run all the way up the steps, and I'm okay when I got to the top of the lower bowl, and then you have to go out in the hallway, come back around, go up these real tight steps, about 20 of them, and then sit down. And that last little hook got me, and I sat down, and I hear my headset, 3, 2, 1, go, and I can't breathe. Nothing comes out. And the producer's going, what's wrong with Jim? And John's laughing so hard. That's how the game started. And then they thought that was such a great idea and liked it so much they had us do it again at halftime.
Oh, no. That's torture. That's torture.
Yeah. They got me. They got me.
Yeah, they got you. Wow.
Those producers, man, I'll tell you.
You ain't lying. Yeah, you ain't lying. We had that same thing in Washington.
Yeah.
We had that
Good
same
luck
thing.
the second time, Jim. Try it again.
We do that same thing, Jim, up in Washington, where we'll come down and shoot the open and then run upstairs. And me and John worked out a deal. I said, John, listen, man, no, we're not doing that anymore, man. We're since we taped the open, let's tape the open as soon as we get to the arena. And then, but everybody's at lunch and they're doing their thing. So John used to be a taskmaster. He used to make everybody, like, you're not eating lunch. Hurry up and get back here. We're going to take 5 minutes to do the open. And then me and Neil would go up. Because me and Neil especially, we both hated walking up those stairs up in Washington and then coming down doing the open. It was just ridiculous.
Well, you hated doing opens, period. I mean,
Neil did. I didn't.
You hate doing reads?
Yeah. No, I didn't help. No, I didn't help. I did the reads. If you would have heard John trying to negotiate with Neil when we have our pre-meetings, he was like, Neil, can you please read these opens? I'm not reading those. It's stupid. And he go, okay, Neil, okay, Stacey, would you read them? Yeah, John, I'll read them. So it was so funny at this, especially
we don't have
end.
those problems in Milwaukee.
Well, listen, you know what?
Everybody knows their role.
We made you tough.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like they say, Jim, read the promo, and Jim will read the promo.
Yeah, we don't have that problem. Jim reads everything.
That's right. Give it to Jim.
Give it to Jim. He'll do it. Yeah, Jim. Neil
I
wouldn't like
won't say
that.
where it was, but I was told one time I had a new partner, and I was told if I let that person read anything, I would be fired.
Oh, wow.
I read everything.
Yeah, Neil would never. He didn't ever like to read. He just like, here, Stacey, read it. I don't read it. I don't read it.
That was not in basketball, but
I know
now
who it
that
is.
person was.
I know who
he can read them perfectly.
Well, he takes such great pride. You have to understand that guy you're talking about. He wants
I told him, I
to.
said, hey,
If
you
you're
can't
dishing
read her.
dirt, you might as well
I'm
say
getting
the
fired.
name.
So, you know,
I'm wondering it could be somebody that does the Brewer telecast.
maybe.
Maybe a guy that was the
Who had
catcher.
turned into a great broadcaster.
okay.
The
I
catcher
gotcha.
the
Yeah.
night that Juan Nueves said Jim Paschke.
Okay.
Be Bill Schroeder.
It would be Rock Schroeder.
Okay,
That's right.
Rock Schroeder.
Rock
okay.
Schroeder.
He really enjoyed reading him.
He
wanted to read, boy. He wanted to
Yeah.
be, he
Oh,
wanted to be like everybody else right out of the chute. And
Oh,
they
yeah.
said, Jim, you have to read them. Don't let him read them.
Oh yeah. So we used
Now
to,
he reads them. He's great.
it sometimes he'd stumble though, and I always get in his ear. That was a great
the
read.
greatest
Rock.
attribute in this business is patience.
Yeah.
Well, this segment has come full circle from Jerry McNertney to Rock Schroeder. So I
There you go.
think we've done our job.
Oh, my goodness.
Jim, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations
Thanks, Jim.
on a Hall of Fame worthy career. We had so much fun. Thank you for joining us
Thank
on
you.
Gimme the Hot Sauce, and we really enjoyed every bit of
Enjoy
it.
your retirement,
Yeah.
bud. You
Thank
deserve
you.
it.
I appreciate that very much. Appreciate the time tonight. Can I listen in? I need to hear Robin Ficker. I mean, it's been 20 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been 20 years since I had to listen to him when I didn't want to. Now I want to.
Yeah, how about this segue, Jim, from one of the kings of NBA broadcasting to the court jester, Robin Ficker, up
I'm
next.
telling you, that guy's
Give
the
me the
best.
hot
He's the
sauce.
best
He is
ever.
the
I
best
couldn't
ever.
even do my job. I was laughing so hard. I wanted him to go away when I had to work, but now I want to listen to him.
That's coming up next on Gimme the Hot Sauce.
Oh, my goodness. That guy was ruthless. Me and BJ, we were young kids. We'd be sitting there, it'd be a timeout, and Phil would be Phil would be sitting there going over the play, and then the guy would yell, "Hey, Tex Winter!" He says, "Hey, look, you can work on a strip ball." So me and BJ would just start cracking up laughing, and then he'd say, "Hey, rookies, what are y'all laughing at?" And then Phil would turn around, "Hey, pay attention to me. Listen here." I'm like, wow. I'm like, Phil, he's funny.
That's the only guy that I think he rivals Stacey.
He rivals
Stacey.
Wow. For those of you watching on YouTube, and really, even if you're listening to the podcast, go back and watch this show on YouTube because this is a classic. We've never gone 6 wide on a Zoom call, but that's what we're doing today.
A Brady
Jim
Bunch.
Paschke,
This is Brady Bunch.
kind enough. Paul Lynn, Circle Takes the Square, I guess going back to a different age, but Jim's kind enough to stick around as we welcome in another special guest on episode 30 of Gimme the Hot Sauce, one of the greatest NBA hecklers of all time. Robin Ficker is joining the show. And Robin, if you just heard that clip, B.J. Armstrong was out of control laughing, recounting that story. And I think, in the book, Sam Smith's book, The Jordan Rules, he spent a good portion talking about the way that you really got under the skin of Phil Jackson's group. Was that one of your proudest moments in your heckling career?
Well, little PJ, he was ready for bed. He was ready for bed about 8:00. And Stacey King, you used to say, once a king, always a king, but 2 points a night is enough.
Oh, no. Wow.
Here we go.
I used to bring Rodman magazine articles about himself, and he'd read them on the bench. And then Michael said he hadn't read the Jordan Rules, okay? He said he hadn't read it. And, of course, I would start reading it to him. Then I'd make something up. And then he'd turn around and shake his head. He knew every word of that book.
That's funny.
I tell you what.
He knew every word of it. And then I'd say, Phil Jackson, you can't play better basketball any better than Janet Jackson or Stonewall Jackson.
Yeah.
And I would read I would read the book that he wrote back
Maverick.
in the 70s to him, Maverick. Yeah, I would read that to him about his exploits with certain females and so on. And then he would say, I'm going to sue you. And I said, first, Phil, you've got to sue yourself for libel.
Oh, my God. I remember that vividly. You had that Maverick book, and you were telling like chapters after chapters, and you were saying, all the drug things that they did back in those 70s. And I remember Phil turning around going, "That's really low, Robin. That's really low. That's really low."
Well, yeah, but he got low because he complained to the referees then.
Yeah. And you know what? You were like a one man show. Like you would be sitting. What I always remembered about you, you not only were clever and witty with what you said, but you would be making the most noise of anybody in the arena. Like you would be stomping your feet on the floor, and it was just like, I mean, the players would just sit back there I know I was laughing my ass off. I thought it was the funniest thing. And then, Phil always would say, you guys, you think it's funny when you go sit back there with them? I'm like, Phil, it's hilarious. Like, I mean, don't get mad at us. I mean, we're young kids, man. He's a funny dude.
Don't hate the player, right?
Don't hate the player, hate the game. I remember specifically you picking on Bobby Hansen, and you brought that old boxing glove, and you brought that boxing glove to the game. Come on, Bobby, pick on somebody. I'm an old man. Pick on somebody you're older than you. And Bobby's like, Bobby wanted to go at you. Bobby, literally, we had to keep Bobby on the bench because he was so mad because you were talking about what happened to him in Utah, that he got into a fight with one of his teammates or something, and he was drunk or something. He got into a fight, and you just kept hammering it to him, and he was like, "I'm gonna kill that son of a bitch. I'm gonna kill him." And we're like, "Bobby, no." And you said, "Come on, Bobby." And you had a little horn. You had like a little blow horn, and you were a trumpet, and you would blow it, and you have that boxing glove, and you'd be like, "Come on, Bobby. I'm an old man. You think you can take me?" Oh my God, it was hilarious.
There it is right there.
Oh, it was hilarious.
Bobby used to tell me he wanted to heckle me in court and heckle me in my coffin.
Another time, I'm shooting a free throw. I'm shooting a free throw in the game, and me and BJ were in the game at the same time. And then you said, "Hey, little BJ, it's past your bedtime." And I literally I think I shot an air ball. I was just crazy because it was so funny because BJ was like, "Why is he always picking on me? I'm not little. I'm 6'2".
BJ did look like a 12-year-old. Right?
Yeah, but he called him little BJ. So ever since then, that's what I would call him when we traveling somewhere. I call him up on the road. I make little BJ. Let's go to the mall. He's like, "All right, Stacey, stop saying that. Okay, Ficker says it, but you don't have to say it." I'm like, "All right, man. Come on, little BJ. Let's go."
Hey, Robin, we've got.
Always kept it clean. We didn't.
That's
swear.
right.
Yes.
We didn't say anything racial. We weren't drinking alcohol. We always had a lot of fun at the game.
Yes. Another one with Tex Winter, the great late Tex Winter. He was sitting on the bench, and you told him he looked like he worked on a shrimp boat, and because he was. and I swear to God, I must have spit out a Gatorade. It was so funny because you got to know Tex, because Tex never bothered anybody. He was like, he
all
was the
business.
quietest guy, and all he worried about was the triangle offense. And when you said that to him and started picking on him, he wanted to get at you. He's like, "I can't stand that guy. If I ever got that guy alone," I'm like, "Come on, Tex, calm down. It's just all in fun, all in fun."
Well, I was getting on Frank Layden about his lack of friendship with Adrian Dantley, and also about the fact that USA Today had rated him the worst dressed coach in the NBA. And he at the end of the game, which Utah won, he tried to come through the bench and punch me. The mailman was holding him back.
Oh man.
Has anyone, like you talk about Frank Layden, has there been anyone else, a player or coaches that got so much under their skin that they want to take a piece of you?
Well, Barkley used to enjoy the tete-a-tete. He would put notes on my chair before the game saying, "Robin, I hope you don't give me a hard time tonight." And then I would say, "Charles, well, I hear you want to run for governor of Alabama. Before I vote for you, I want to know your view on health care, NAFTA, and the economy. And he turned around and said, well, Robin, I do have a view on the death penalty.
Hey, Robin, we've got Jim Paschke with us, who's bringing an end to his career with the Milwaukee Bucks as their play-by-play guy. Jim, you have any stories about run-ins with Robin and when you visited Washington?
Well, no run-ins, but I would listen during the timeouts, and then I'd have to come back and read a promo, and I couldn't even read it. I was laughing so hard. And that happened over and over. Robin, who was your favorite Bucks target over the years?
Well, I think probably my favorite was Barkley because he'd always give it back to me. And I enjoyed going after him. He'd let me have it. And I remember he originated the idea of getting this great big 10-foot across 76 banner, which was shaped in a circle frame, and they'd hold that up behind their bench when I was there. And then the NBA made him get rid of it, say, no, you're blocking the view of all the fans of the huddle. Lots of the teams used to move their seats out to half court to get away from the bench.
Yeah.
Moved the whole bench out during timeout.
We did it. And Phil made our trainers and everybody move the seats out from where they normally were to get out on the floor, almost to the free throw line. And we still heard you, and we still laughed, and we got in trouble for laughing. It's like, I'm sorry, dude. He's funny. I mean, he's hilarious. He's hilarious. How would you think you would do in today's game? Because you don't see anyone like you in today's game, because they're always, escorting those people out.
Well, I always would read up on the players. I knew the names of Scottie Pippen's girlfriends and how much I knew that Louis Lloyd was $70,000 behind in child support.
Oh, no.
He did everything.
I would bring up the stuff that was in the media. I wouldn't say anything that wasn't in the media. It was in the media somewhere, but I would read up on the teams before they came in. And usually the visiting team TV station would put a mic on me during the game, but I wouldn't say anything improper.
No, it was always clean. You never said anything, inappropriate. Because I specifically remember the Jordan Rules books. When you were telling your teammates don't like you, Michael. Your teammates hate you, and they don't want to be around you, Michael. And Michael would be sitting over there like, you could tell like he was just like he's so mad. But hey, it is what it is. But you would have like little excerpts in the book, like the Maverick. The Maverick was hilarious because Phil always prided himself on not being affected by crowd noise and stuff like that.
He's always Zen.
Yeah, Zen, and he preached Zen to us.
Yeah, and
that was one of the first times I ever see that Zen didn't work. Is when you read out of the Maverick. That hit Phil right in the stomach. And I remember him turning around when you were talking about, his divorce and everything, boom, boom. And it was like, he turned around and goes, that's low, Robin. That's low. That's really low.
So he never thought he would get to where he was back then when he was writing that book.
Yeah. Because he was a player.
Yep.
He was a player.
Hey, Robin, you're not driving the car, are you? I mean, you're parked, right?
I pulled over. I
Okay, thanks. I don't want any more incidents.
Oh, my goodness.
No.
So, Robin, who are you heckling now? We don't see you at Wizards games. Are you heckling a different group, a different clientele, different sport?
Well, actually, if you really want to know, I'm heckling a bunch of people who are running for governor because that's what I'm doing. I'm running for governor in Maryland, and
okay.
I'm out there meeting the voters every day. And of course, in the past, I've gone to the University of Maryland wrestling matches because in the wrestling matches, you can get up close and personal with those wrestlers. And I've had a lot of opposing wrestling coaches volunteer to wrestle me.
I bet. The wrestlers are crazy, man. I bet you you have to get guys off of you, and they're wrestling.
Well, we missed the headline. He's running for governor.
Yeah, geez.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the same age as our president, so I guess that's fine, right? I mean, you got a good shot, don't you?
Well, I think I have a good shot because I'm pretty well known, and plus I like to meet people. I'm going to spend Memorial Day weekend down on the boardwalk in Ocean City. In 2 hours, you can meet people from all 23 Maryland counties on the boardwalk, and they're just walking by in a parade, and they're footloose and fancy free because they're having fun at the beach. They're on vacation.
Well, I tell you what, if you have a debate against any of the other candidates, they might be in trouble.
Yeah,
because you'll shred them up with their past. Oh my goodness! So I will say this: you were well prepared for I know for the Bulls. I don't know about other teams, but you were well prepared for us, and you knew everything about us. And I remember you were in Phoenix. That there was a rumor that Phoenix brought you out there just to heckle us because they felt like that would be an advantage to have you out there in the finals. And it didn't work.
The tickets.
It didn't work.
And I remember, I think it was Rodman who made some statement that he was afraid of spiders. So one game I brought like 200 spiders, including a big one that was like 4 feet across, which I had on a rope. And I put spiders under the bench. I put spiders under all the seats, and I had all these spiders, some of which were lit and glowing, and it just completely discombobulated the arachnophobic Rodman.
So that's a lesson for all you young aspiring hecklers out there. Yeah. Make sure you do your research. Make sure you know the people that you're going to attack.
And keep it clean.
Yeah, and keep it clean.
Keep it clean.
Yeah.
I know you were a big attraction at those games back then. I mean, you were sometimes a lot better show than what was going on in the basketball court.
Bigger than the Bullets.
Well, you get a vicarious thrill. You when you're at the game, you start thinking you're actually there on the court, and you've had a hard week. You've been in and out of court, arguing all week long, and then you get there to the game. You're right on the edge, and you feel like you're out on the court, and you want to take part, and you realize that you can have an effect with the words that you use because these guys, they're trying to focus on their game. I would have a whiteboard there, and I would draw plays that were different than the plays the coaches were drawing. And I'd say, no, you ought to be doing this. They'd be looking at my plays instead of the coaches' plays. And the coaches, of course, would have a short half-life. They're worried about their job usually. And if you're drawing all these plays that are contradictory, then they get upset.
How would you heckle today's stars like Kevin Durant, LeBron James? How would you heckle those guys?
Well, actually, I think I helped LeBron James when he was still in high school because they had an athletic director in where he was going to high school, and he went to school and he had on some NBA jersey, and as a result of that, the athletic director in his school district wanted to disallow him to play high school basketball because they said that he was promoting something commercially. And I called up that guy, that athletic director, and gave him hell, and they ended up dropping it. But I think LeBron and I would get along really well. I think I could distract him. I really do, because most of these players, they're used to focusing, but they really haven't honed their defense, which is against those who are trying to keep them from focusing. And it's pretty easy, I think, to crack the nut when you're sitting right there and you're able to talk to them freely. They got to come back for a blow or a timeout. And you can get into their head if you know a lot of facts about what they've been doing over their playing time, over their whole game career.
So, Jim, if you're looking for something to do in retirement, you can either take up heckling or you can run for governor of Wisconsin. I mean, just follow the Robin Ficker path.
Yeah, no politics for me, but I've been taking notes. Robin, I want to try one more time. Any great Milwaukee stories?
Let me think now.
Del Harris.
Well, Del Harris, he was always trying to act very prim and proper. So I think I would call him Dinner Bell Del, and start talking about what he was going to have for dinner after the game, and all these shrimp and things that he was going to be eating, and he'd be there trying to concentrate on what to tell the players. I caught I think I broke through his consciousness that way. Now, I had a lot of fun one time when Barkley wrote something about how he didn't like vegetables. So I brought a whole big bag of all the different vegetables to the game. And I said, Charles, you look radishing. Or, Charles, you have to take a leak. I brought all of you're making a broccoli of the game of basketball. You got a little spring onion step. And I'd hold up these veggies, and it was really quite distracting. I know one of his teammates was told to go in the game, and he had to put the eggplant he had in his hand under his jersey, and he almost went on the floor with it.
Hey, Robin, Jim's partner right now is Marcus Johnson, who played on some of those great teams in the 80s. You remember that group, and they had Jack Sikma, Sidney Moncrief. Did you get under the skin of any of those guys? Yeah.
Bob Lanier.
Yeah, Moncrief was a great player. He could sure jump. Sikma was kind of big and slow.
He had the perm going. Remember that? The Jack Sikma perm in the early 90s?
Yeah.
So did they ever pass the Ficker rule? Whatever happened with that?
Wait, say that again?
The Ficker rule. Did they ever pass that?
Timmy whispers.
Yeah, that was printed on the back. I think it still is on the back of every season ticket, where they say that if a fan interferes with communication between the opposing coach and players during timeouts, that fan shall be given a warning. And then if he does it again, that fan shall be asked to leave the game. And if he does it a second time, they can revoke his season tickets. They brought that rule about simply because I was talking to the players like I was calling Jimmy Jackson Immy action because he couldn't hit the J.
That's great. Are you on the Beltway right now?
No, I'm here actually at the University of Maryland campus where it's raining quite heavily.
Well, I tell you what, this has been a real treat to catch up with the original heckler, Robin Ficker, and Jim. We're going to send you a copy of this so you can treasure this for all time. The time you appeared on the Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast with Robin Ficker. This is one for the books. There's no question about it. Robin, thank you.
I love these guys because they were in such great shape and such good athletes, and I had to admire them. But actually, what they should have done, they should have had David Robinson take them to role-playing school where they could have put up with some of this trash talking, because I could never get under the skin of the Admiral. He'd been through the Naval Academy. He'd learned how to take it. He should have been teaching these rookies and these NBA players how to take.
You need me on that ship.
Didn't you spend some time at the military academy?
Yeah, I was at West Point. Yeah,
you didn't last though, right? Did you?
No, I didn't last. I got too many demerits.
Surprise, surprise.
Well, Robin, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be following your race for the governor of Maryland. That will be interesting. That's going to make national headlines.
No. I'm gonna win that race, and I hope. By the way, I have to give this a plug. I hope the University of Maryland wins that NCAA lacrosse championship this coming weekend.
Oh, they're going to run into the mighty. Is that men or women? Because we got the Northwestern women. They're our powerhouse here in Chicago.
Yeah, they're really good. Yes.
All right, Robin. Thanks for spending a few minutes
Robin,
with us.
thanks for coming on, buddy.
Jim, thank you for hanging around for the interview.
Thanks for hanging in.
We appreciate it.
Thanks for your interest in sports. Thanks for your interest in sports because it keeps young people going.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we're going off the wall next, but we've been off the wall for a long time. But keep going. More stories coming up on Gimme the Hot Sauce.
That's his slogan, our friend Ficker.
Absolutely. Yeah. He is our buddy.
He's our buddy. Friend of the show.
Yes, the unmistakable rifles tell you it is time for rapid fire. But I'll tell you what, after the great segment with Jim Paschke and then Robin Ficker going all spraying all fields. We're trying to rein this show back in just a little bit. But before we move on, if you're watching on YouTube, we got a special treat for you. The woman behind the great success of Timmy Whispers, his lovely wife, Maureen, is here. Is he really that quiet around the house?
He's pretty quiet, but
is he?
Oh yeah, but you know, if he has a few drinks, a couple beers, he's
boy.
not so
We've seen that side of him.
Here it comes.
I think that Whispers is trying to get Coors Light on board as a sponsor. He's sampling a little product tonight. How you doing there, Whispers?
I'm the Coors Light ninja.
Hey, thank you for setting up that interview with Robin Ficker. That was some classic podcast fodder.
He was fun guy.
He was.
He likes to talk and have a good time.
You know, you think about all the great guests that you could possibly get, and Robin Ficker's right near the top.
And the next governor of Maryland.
Yes, the next
I'm not
governor
so
of
sure
Maryland.
about that.
Yeah,
but,
Hey, but at least he's running.
Yeah.
He's putting himself out there. I think this is his second time he's run for public office.
Third,
Third. I think he's 0 for 2. And but he could. You know, you never know. He might win. He might win this.
Stranger things have happened.
Exactly.
There's no question about it. I mean, look at our past president who went from reality TV to the White House. So anything is possible. We're not going to get big into politics.
Yes,
Let's talk about one of the great sports stories of this year to this point, of this calendar year. Phil Mickelson becomes the oldest golfer to win a major tournament. He won the PGA Championship. And we're talking about Zen earlier, Stacey, and he changed his whole approach. He tried to do deep breathing exercises and play slower, even walk slower on the golf course. And I think, you know, even though people can say, well, golf's not a sport, I mean, what he was able to do to beat the greatest players in the world at the age of 50 is quite an accomplishment.
I don't care what anybody says. Golf is a sport. So, I mean, you're getting out there and it's skill, a lot of skill. And for what he did at 50 years old, he's always been close. You know, Phil Mickelson's if Tiger had not been in this era, he possibly could be the greatest player of his generation. But he had to go against Tiger and then Sergio Garcia. There's so many guys that came up with him. But he is a phenomenal golfer, and it's great to see him finally get the light and the light shined on him. It's awesome to see him win at that age.
One of the things that was interesting during the tournament was we found out that Brooks Koepka is not a fan of Bryson DeChambeau, who, of course, is the guy that tries to hit the ball 400 yards and plays a whole different kind of golf. And in the middle of an interview, Brooks Koepka saw him walk by and he said something behind him and he says, "Oh, stop! I don't want to listen to that asshole." You know, so you know, fighting words in golf. And speaking of beef, Stacey, there's a great beef going on with the former #1 overall pick Kwame Brown, who was kind of lit up on a podcast.
I think
him.
Southside had something to say about Phil Mickelson. I think she wanted.
No, I just want
It's Bring Your Wife to Work Day on the
Southside's been on
podcast.
but I think she wants to refute what Stacey said about athlete.
I think Father Time is undefeated, and I want that guy drug tested. I think.
You know what?
I don't know, because
Southside.
50 years old, arthritis.
Listen,
he's hitting bombs.
Just because you're old doesn't mean you're cold. Okay, remember that. Okay, just because there's snow on the mountaintop doesn't mean there's not a fire in the furnace. Okay, so Phil is 50 is a new 40. You subtract 10. Whenever you hit 50, you have to minus 10. And the people around you don't have to know you're minus 10, but in your mind, because the mind is the most powerful thing. You know, I'm 54 years old, but I'm really 34. Except
minus
20 off.
Yeah.
That would be 20.
Except in the morning. Except in the morning when I need to get up, the bones start hurting a little bit, the hip, the knees, the back, and I go on my app to find Uber to see if I can Uber myself to the bathroom. You know, I'm trying to call an app. I only got to go 20 steps. I don't know how much it's going to cost Uber to take me to the bathroom for 20 steps, but I'm trying.
And John, hold that up again. You can get your own bottle of the Gimme the Hot Sauce.
Wait a minute.
This will keep you young, huh, King?
Let me see that. Let me see that.
That's a different variety that we have.
Hey, don't let everybody know that right now. Okay.
Is this under testing, or we get the FDA warranty, or what's going on?
Dun, 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 dun. We have a breaking news story, ladies and gentlemen. Bulls fans, America, we are now coming out with a second recipe. It's called the St. Pat's Verdes. Let me get it up close.
Hold it up. Yeah, hold it to the camera.
See where my camera at?
No.
There you go.
There it is right there.
There it is, yep.
And we're going to go to Timmy Whispers. We're going to go live to Timmy Whispers so he can explain what this sauce is and how different it is from the first sauce.
Get it.
And how you can get it. Go ahead, Timmy Whispers.
Okay, I'll explain one of your mom's recipes here. So we had a little extra avocado and cilantro, medium heat, and can we put on
giving away the
anything.
recipe, Stacey.
Yeah,
it's trademarked. Yeah, you can't steal it. You can't steal it. Yeah. Go ahead, Whispers.
It has that special sauce in it, which
A real special sauce. Real special sauce. And she'll like it too.
I hope it's not that special.
Oh, it is.
It'll boost your.
Usually it's
it'll boost your
Whispers with that zinger.
Yeah,
What do you say? It'll boost your tea?
It'll boost your
If you
tea.
have low tea, and she'll like it too. Little shameless plug for my boy Frank Thomas. There it is again, America. St. Pat's Verdes. It's awesome. I ain't gonna lie. I like the hot sauce. I was eating the hot sauce all weekend when I was up at where did I go?
Lake Geneva. Grand
Lake
Geneva.
Geneva.
Yeah.
So I had my hot sauce with me, and I was taking it, and I'm really interested in tasting this one because I know it tastes good, and I got this bottle today. Oh Lord, give me the hot sauce. No, give me the St. Pat's Verdes, baby, not the hot sauce. St. Pat's Verdes. It's
How can
green.
our viewers and listeners get a bottle?
Just go to gimmethehot.sauce.com.
There you go. Simple as that.
Get 4 packs.
4 packs, 1 pack, 2 packs, whatever you want. Okay.
Can I have mine back?
No, did we give you this?
Yeah, Tim did.
We need a receipt. We need a receipt, Tim. We don't turn nothing down but our collar over here, brother. Come on, there ain't no free bottles out here.
Nothing's for free.
Okay. All right.
Hey, speaking of hot sauce, we started talking about the Kwame Brown thing with with Matt Barnes. That got ugly pretty quick. It escalated quickly, as they said in Anchorman.
Listen, listen, America. This is modern day bullying. Seriously, it is. I mean, Kwame Brown wasn't messing with anybody. He wasn't talking trash about anybody. He was just minding his own business.
Just puffing on his hookah pipe.
Yeah, his big hookah pipe.
I watched some of that video. That was something, you know.
I'm gonna get me one of those because at first I didn't know what it was. I was like, "What is he sucking on? Is that like one of those drinks with the long straw?"
Yeah.
And then my son told me, "No, that's a hookah. That's a hookah pipe." I'm like, "I'd never seen that before. You know, they're much bigger than ones I've seen. This was like a little one, like a skinny one. I was like, oh, is he drinking a drink or something?" But back to the point. And listen, everybody has a right to their opinion. And you know, I've never liked the word bust, you know, calling a player a bust and this player was a bust, you know. It's your interpretation of a player, okay? Listen, anybody who makes it to the professional level is not a bust. Anybody who plays 10 years in the league, makes $64 million, and started NBA games is not a bust.
Right.
And for those guys to call him a bust because he was the number one pick, because he didn't reach their expectations or someone else's expectations, he came in this league as an 18-year-old. The worst thing that could have happened to him, Mark, was to be on a team with Michael Jordan. That's the worst thing that could have happened to that kid. If that kid would have went anywhere else, he'd probably been a star. But to come in on that team, to be Michael Jordan's first pick, and then to be, and listen, all of us know what it's like playing with Michael. And if you're not mentally strong and mentally tough, Michael will beat you down and take your confidence. And that, I think, happened to Kwame Brown. He just, you know, his confidence was taken very early from him as an 18-year-old when there should have been mentorship. There should have been someone there taking that kid to the side because, again, I've heard stories about Kwame when he first came in, you know, how, he didn't take his clothes to the cleaners. He didn't know how to do any of that stuff. They had no mentorship programs for that kid, you know, as an 18-year-old coming in. And instead of, you know, Michael, you know, doing like he does veteran players, you can't do that to an 18-year-old. Yeah. I mean, that just destroyed that kid's confidence. And I think it impeded his development into where he could have been. You know, there's a reason why he was the number one pick. Because he was the best 18-year-old in the draft at the time.
That was the Eddie Curry Tyson
Chandler, yes. Yeah. I mean, had he been able to, like I said, gone anywhere else, his career might have been different. But my point is with Matt Barnes, and I love Matt Barnes and I love Steven Jackson. I love their show. All that.
And Gilbert Arenas was on that.
Gilbert Arenas. Listen, you're in this business, you have an opinion. That's the beautiful thing about this. I think they could have handled it a little bit differently. I think they could have just said, hey, look, he didn't, you know, his career didn't turn out the way it should have turned out for various reasons, okay? And you know, Gilbert knows what it's like to play with Michael Jordan or play for Michael Jordan. He knows. So for them to like kind of take a shot at that kid I thought was really bad. But when they hit a sleeping bear, man, they poked the bear because he came back and he came back firing. I mean,
he was on YouTube for over an hour just lighting those guys up.
If you didn't know Kwame Brown, the player, you know who Kwame Brown is now. Anybody who's on social media, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, He probably now, I think he went from like having like, 1,500 followers to like, close to 100,000 now. Like people know who he is. And now the thing that's happened is that he's telling stories, like things that happen behind the scenes. He's giving you things that, normally you don't talk about, but you can understand where he's coming from. So y'all want to come at me. So if you come at the king, you better not miss. And they missed, and he is torching them right now.
Yeah, with every drag of his off the hookah pipe, the story's got a little bit worse. And at one point, he looks in the camera, he goes, "Damn, my eyes are red." He goes, "But I love my hookah," and boy, he did.
I'm telling you what, I'm gonna tell you something. Somebody's gonna give him a podcast. Somebody's gonna give him a show, and they're gonna give him a forum.
Why don't you get him on?
He's a forum.
We gotta get Kwame Brown on.
Yeah,
definitely for mature audiences only.
But you know what though? I mean, the things he talks about, like when you listen to him talk, he's very educated.
Oh yeah.
For a kid who came straight out of high school, didn't go to college, you listen to him talk. He puts his sentences together well. Mm-hmm. He expresses himself in an adult way. He's not F this and this and that. I mean, he's really talking like he knows what he's talking about. And you got to respect the guy because, like I said, when people say a guy like him is a bust because of the situation that he was in, like I said, anybody who's been in the NBA, has played 10 or more years, you can't call nobody a bust because there's only 400 and something NBA players out there that are actually in the league. Think about how many hundreds of thousands of people who are, playing basketball who can't even get to that level. Now, if you want to call people bust, you can go look at all those people, but you don't know their names. You don't know their names because they're not drafted. So it's easy to pick on a guy like Kwame Brown, which I thought was wrong. And I think it's wrong for anybody to call any player a bust when they made it to the pro level.
And there'll probably be some opportunities for Kwame Brown going forward in terms of being out there in the media. And the one thing for me is that every time I came home from work, I drive down North Avenue towards my house, and there was this place in the distance, there's a hookah bar. And I never knew what that was, like you were saying, Stacey. After watching Kwame Brown, I might stop in there.
Yes. Hey, we
see
need
what's
to
going on in the den of iniquity.
Hey, listen, here, here at the Sriracha Studios, we got kegs of beer here, so there might be we might need to have a hookah bar in here and doing the show with hookahs. I'm down for that.
I already ordered it.
You love
it. Whispers is already in. Way to go, Whispers.
Hot sauce and hookah for everybody.
Oh my goodness.
That's how we do it.
We dim the lights.
Oh my goodness.
Put a disco ball in here and have the lights shining. Oh man, I can see it happening right now.
We could bring one of those.
Yeah, see, John,
here we go. John wants to get in his ode to Adam Vinatieri.
See how he forced that in?
Yeah.
You see how he forced it? He didn't even lead to it.
There's no segue there.
There's no segue. This right here. This was it right here.
Who cares?
2001 right here.
And if you're not watching on YouTube and listening on the podcast, you have no idea what's going on. But he's showing an Adam Vinatieri field goal from the Super Bowl.
14 game-winning kicks in the final play of the game, fourth quarter OT. Nothing bigger than that right there. He had the kick against the Raiders a couple of weeks earlier in the snow.
Who did he play for?
Well, he played for New England for a long time. But
America, this is why we're covering Adam Vinatieri, and he had a great career.
We talked about Phil. We talked about Phil Mickelson. How about we talk a little bit about that guy?
Hey, Southside, do you think he? What about Father Time with him?
I have my.
Yeah, he had a bad year for the Colts last year.
Yeah.
You have the same comment too about.
I'm old, and I know what time does to you.
The Indianapolis fans wanted to run him out of town. He was missing a lot of kicks last year. So
It's undefeated, Stacey.
Salute to Adam Vinatieri. Yeah. We appreciate that.
Salute to the New England Patriot legend and John Stinger Walsh.
Second greatest Patriot of all time.
And he should he should be in the Hall of Fame. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
He will be.
And he should have his jersey up in the ring of circles. Yep.
All that.
Yep. Hey, right along with Julian Edelman.
Yeah, right.
I knew you were going to say
Now,
that.
I want to set this next up because we have big news in the Sriracha
Dun,
studio.
dun, dun, dun.
Instead of using that's very similar to the kind of music I was told by a producer that works with Shanowski, I should use this music to introduce Mark in his second run. Here we go.
Wow, that's old school.
What's that?
Floyd Calburn and John Drury.
Is that WKRP in Cincinnati?
No.
What is that?
This is me.
That's your music?
That's their old music, right?
Before I was there.
I was getting ready to say, that sounds kind of old.
Hey, I'm old, but I ain't that old.
It's Cool Hand Luke, and apparently
and that's what they used to come on to?
Apparently, according to one of the ABC producers I talked to. But anyways, not to steal the thunder, Mark's back to read a teleprompter, and I think that's good for everybody. Because
showing my wide range of skills.
The stuff that you
boils it down to that.
Wow. Yeah, hey, special shout out to my boy Mark. Hey, listen, one of the best in Chicago covering sports.
Man.
Should never be on the sidelines. He should be doing this until he retires on his own, till he's 75, and that's only 2 years away. But he looks good for 75, America. He looks damn good. He got a full salad on his head. He looks damn good. And it's so glad to see him back on television because he deserved to be on there. And they hit a home run bringing you back, Mark.
And it's Eyewitness News, 5 and 10 this Saturday night.
Yes.
Saturday and Sunday, I'll be doing the anchoring the sports.
I want all our people to watch 5 o'clock and 10 o'clock.
ABC
7.
Yeah.
Mark is going to be on television again. He's going to be, before he comes on, he likes to do 25 push-ups.
That's
because
right.
when we had him on, we had him doing a game in Detroit. Mark was late for the bus. You heard this story like way back in like episode like 15. Mark was late. He tried to blame me for him being late, but Mark was actually doing push-ups trying to get swole up before he got on camera.
Well, it wasn't. You did lead him down the wrong path there, didn't you?
Listen, let me tell you something, Stinger. Okay,
I'm just getting
this is why the Beatles broke up, because there's a Yoko Ono in every group.
That's right. Don't try to come between us.
Don't come between me and Mark.
Yeah,
okay,
right.
all right, we're solid over here. John and Paul McCartney over here. Yoko, you stay where you're at.
Okay.
Stacey, this is on the down low. So tell us what life is like as the pandemic is ending in Wisconsin, as you're in Lake Geneva this week.
Oh, here we go.
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, America, Chicago Bulls fans. I finally got out the house.
Yeah.
I felt like John Travolta, the boy in the plastic bubble. Okay, if you ever saw that movie, that's what I felt like. I took my first steps outside the bubble. I didn't wear my little suit. I just walked on out. I had my mask on. I'm double,
one of the few people.
I'm double vaccinated.
Yeah. Was it scary?
Yeah, it was kind of scary.
It
was kind of
scary.
But let me tell you what was scary. So I go up to Lake Geneva, and I'm going up there to hang out. And then all of a sudden, I get to Grand Geneva, the hotel I was staying at. And I've never seen so many people. It was like I was in Doc Brown's DeLorean, and I came back to 2001, pre-pandemic. Everybody's walking around with no mask. And it was all the people basically from Wisconsin that didn't have masks on. And you saw the Chicago people that were checking in. Everybody had masks on. And I just was like, oh, my God, it's like, what's going on here? But with that said, I was double vaccinated. So I had my mask on and I had a good time. It felt good being out, walking around, Lake Geneva, just hanging out.
It's hard to get clean towels, though, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Hey, America.
There we go.
Okay. So I'm there for 2 days. I'm there Thursday, Friday. I'm checking out on Saturday. I'm a clean sheet freak. Okay. I'm one of these people, like, if I sleep on sheets one night, I want new ones the next day.
Yeah.
And then they only give you one set of towels. Okay, so I call downstairs. There's no man code violation. There is no man code violation.
Sounds like it.
I like clean sheets. I don't know who slept on those sheets before I got in that
That's
room.
right.
So I want clean sheets. So I call downstairs. It's like 11 o'clock. I'm like, man, where's the cleaning people at? It's like 11 o'clock. So I call downstairs. Say, hey, excuse me, this is Mr. King in room, 5023. Are you going to come up and are you going to send somebody else to clean the room? And they're like, oh, no, we can't do that.
You haven't been out of the house.
No, we can't do that. I'm like, what do you mean you can't do that?
COVID.
So they said, well, because of the COVID reasons, yada, yada.
Then why are you open?
Then I said, why are you open? That's exactly. Like, why are you open? And why is everybody walking around with no mask on?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But I think guests are uncomfortable with having the
I wasn't uncomfortable with it.
Well,
bring me some new sheets.
I think that's
If I'm gonna leave the room, and give you 2 hours to clean the room, I'm not in there with you. I was in a suite. I was in a nice room. So I was like, I had a fireplace. I mean, I was in a nice room. Yeah, I roll like that.
Yeah,
okay. If I'm gonna go to a hotel, I'm not going to Motel 6. I'm just telling you right now. I need comfort. Okay. So I had a nice little fireplace, couch. I had a great view of a wall. I didn't have a good view for this room that I paid for.
Service, though.
There was no, they did have room service, and they put it in like a little bag, like if you went to picked it up at McDonald's, and they dropped it outside your door and knocked on the door and ran.
Oh my God!
So you're like, you hear a knock. he's like, who is it?
Ding dong
And
ditch.
they wouldn't say nothing. They just take off. So I'm like, let me go out there and see what's going on. I'll see my food on the door. I'm like, oh, well, that's really low. He's just going to drop it and run. Wow. But I had a good time. It was great being out and not kind of worrying about, everything, just like for 2 days, just get out of the house. That was my first trip I'm going to take. I'm going to take a lot more, but I just wanted to just do that for now, just to get a feel, because Lake Geneva is not far from where I live. So I just wanted to see what it felt like being in a hotel. That's the first time I've been in a hotel in over a year. Wow. When did we, let me see.
March,
yeah. Yeah, it's been over a year. So it felt good to be able to get out and experience things. Yeah. So I'm venturing out slowly but surely. I'm waiting for Whispers to get the boat back out, because that was the game plan. I was going up there hoping Whispers would have his boat out there and we could lower it in the water.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there to serve hors d'oeuvres or anything, because normally Whispers always ask me like, hey, do you have a tuxedo? He goes, you want to come up on the boat this weekend? I go, yeah, man, that'd be a great idea. I have a lot of fun. Who's going to be on there? Oh, I got a few friends, my wife, I got a lot of friends coming on.
So this week,
and then he goes, this is what he tells me. He says, you got a tuxedo? I'm like,
it's like he's a bartender on a love boat.
So I go, is this a formal thing? Like on a boat, I got to be all formal? He goes, no, I just want you to serve hors d'oeuvres.
Oh,
I'm like,
come on.
Wow.
Whispers.
Then I had to get the guy with the sombrero, with the chips and the dip in the middle walking around. I had to get that guy.
He's hitting all the cliches.
Yeah. That's my boy, too.
Yeah.
That's my best friend. See how he treats me?
So mariachi band.
30 years of abuse.
30 years of abuse. He said 30 years of abuse. Yes, listen. But listen, I urge everybody to get out and live.
Yeah.
And if you've been vaccinated, get out there and live, man. And you still got to move differently than you've ever moved before. Like, I'm not big on a lot of people, being around a lot of crowds of people. If I'm around people I know, I'm a little more interested in doing that. But, restaurants and stuff like that, it was good. I went into a restaurant and, I felt safe. There's social distancing in certain restaurants. And I felt safe. I didn't, because I'm not going to live in fear. I'm just not. I know how serious COVID is, and I'm not, naive to know, think, because I got my vaccination, I'm safe. I'm still going to move differently than I did in the past, but I'm not going to be held hostage. I'm gonna get out and enjoy myself, and because life's short, man. No one's promised tomorrow, and I don't want to be sitting around and missing opportunities, enjoying life, because I'm afraid, and you can't do things when you're afraid.
Great words to live by as we wrap up episode 30. Before we get out of here, though, you owe Neil Funk a phone call.
Yes.
He actually called during the show, which is one of the strangest things I've ever seen in my life.
It was one of the most craziest things, because we had Paschke on, we had Robin Ficker getting ready to come on, and then Neil Funk.
And we just were talking about
we were just talking about Neil Funk, so his little ears must have been burning. And so he calls in the middle of the show, and then we put him on FaceTime. Okay,
which he didn't know how to do.
Yeah, he didn't know how to do FaceTime. He's like, hold on, man. He said, he hung up on me, and I go, Neil, I'm gonna put you on FaceTime. Hold on. And he goes, all right, call me back. I'm like, you don't have to, Neil. I don't have to call you back. All you gotta do is just answer the FaceTime call.
Yeah.
So he comes on FaceTime, America, and I haven't seen Neil in months. Like, Neil has been just like MIA. I put him on a milk carton. Has anyone seen this man? So he comes on, and he looks like Grizzly Adams.
Yeah,
he's got a beard growing. He's got all this face. I mean, I'm like, I've never seen Neil with like that kind of shadow. Neil keeps himself shaved, so I know he's enjoying retirement. So it was awesome seeing it. So when we get off the show tonight, I got to give him a call, and because he made it seem like I don't call him. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe he's on the hookah.
I don't know, man.
He's stopping at the local hookah bar.
I don't know. He might though.
Was eyes red?
I don't know. Hey, leave Neil alone. I'm not gonna let you talk about Neil like that.
I'm
not. All right, no.
I got plenty.
I tell you what, this has been a classic episode as we hit our 30 episode milestone.
3-0.
Our thanks to Jim Paschke, Robin Ficker, and of course our great sponsor, Bubble Up, the Cloud Reimagined. Bubble Up, the new way to visualize, organize any kind of content all in one place. We want to thank them for their support. We are continuing to grow. We hope you check us out on YouTube and, of course, all the various podcast platforms. It's easy for me to say. I hope I don't do that on Saturday and Sunday when I'm reading the teleprompter, John. All right, for the whole crew, Maureen, thanks for joining us. It's nice to meet you. Timmy Whisper's better half, and get your jar of hot sauce. Go to.
I just want to say, thank you to our sponsor, Gimme the Hot Sauce, and I want everyone who's watching this show or listen, make sure you get your bottle of Gimme the Hot Sauce, the St. Pat's Verdes edition. It's the green sauce, if you don't know, and it is on fire.
What else you got for the folks?
Drive home safely, Chicago. Beep, beep. What? No, you don't go what on a closeout like that. Okay? You're getting a little bit too comfortable. You're getting a little bit too comfortable on the thing.
Can't go upstairs.
Oh, my God.